you so much for joining us. We are super crazy excited that you are here. Self-care and what God's taught us along the way is the title for today, though in retrospect, I probably should have called it Self-Care and What God is Teaching Us Along the Way, because I don't feel like we've ever gotten to the place where we've learned everything that we need to know. We're always learning more from God as long as we keep our ears and eyes open to what He is teaching us. So it's amazing. So I'm so thankful to be doing my life with these ladies that have joined me on the call today to share, as well as some of the others who aren't sharing this time, but maybe getting the call later to join me on one of these talks. So I appreciate it again. I'm so excited, and I just hope that you go away today blessed by what you hear and just encouraged, and that you just can take away something, even if it's just a little nugget from today that you can take away and just tuck it away to help you when you proceed in your life. So how did we get to know each other? Let me make sure everybody's in the room. Yeah. So how did we get to know each other? We're all on a journey for self-care, and God is the amazing God that He is, and He just brought us together in the same place where we were able to connect our hearts together and just join together, and we're just crazy excited to be doing this. So let's go ahead and get started. So let me just do this, define self-care, because that's really what we're talking about today. And we're talking about self-care as not as in doing what feels good, or what the world would, what feels good. Well, what feels good today is lying on the couch and eating a tub of ice cream. Maybe, and maybe some days that's okay. But self-care, what we're talking about is helping us gain better health, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. So together, the ladies that are sharing with me today, we are literally on a mission to end the trend of poor health. So with that, let's go ahead and start introductions. And so ladies, if you just want to jump in and introduce yourselves, tell us a bit about yourselves, who you are, and where you're from, and let's go from there. I'll go ahead and start. My name is Stacy Zeller, and I live in, well, I like to say Springville, California, but I'm actually on the cusp of Springville. It's beautiful here. And I am 48, I think. When you get older, I guess it doesn't matter. But I'm 48. I've been married for 21 years, and I have 3 adult children, and I am just excited to be here. I work at a high school part-time, and just running a little business on the side, and I'm loving every minute of it. So I am blessed. Who's next?
I could go. My name is Nicole Blaine. I live right outside of Nashville, Tennessee. I have been married for 28 years. I'm 48 years old, so same age as you, Stacy. And together we have 6 children, 5 girls, 1 boy. The age range is 26 all the way down to 13. We have 1 married, no grandkids yet, but I cannot wait for the day. And both my husband and I have a home-based business. We work in health and wellness, and we absolutely love it.
Yay! Awesome. How about you, Jen?
Okay. Thanks, Nicole. Thanks, Stacy. I'm Jen Case, and originally from Orange County, California for 25 years, and then I moved to Nashville, Tennessee. I'm just going to go ahead and be the black sheep, since we're going to go ahead and lay it all out today, ladies, and be honest. Anyways, I'm in my 3rd marriage. I found my sweet love of my life at the age of 40. I'm 44 now, so we are beautifully blended. I have 3 little boys, and he came with a little boy and a beautiful baby girl in diapers. So we're about to celebrate our 3rd wedding anniversary. So anyways, I'm so grateful to be here. My husband is actually in the land development company. So he gets to do what he loves to do and hop on big tractors and dig in dirt. And I'm a director for a health and wellness company. And I'm just super grateful to be able to talk openly today about just about health and wellness, mind, body, spirit. And I love women, and I love to be able to be saturated in things that y'all can teach me. And we share our experience, strength, and hope. So I'm just grateful to be here.
Amen. That we do. Definitely sharing our experiences together help us be stronger. I love that. Gabby, how about you?
Yeah, my name is Gabby Merritt. I'm originally from California, married to Joel for 18 years. We have 5 kids ranging from almost 16 down to 6. And we moved to Indiana 2.5 years ago, almost 3 years ago, to start over. And it's been amazing, an amazing journey. But we we're part owners in 3 automotive shops here in the area, and that keeps us super busy. So 5 kids in 4 schools. And we also just love health. We lead a small group at our church. So yeah, mind, body, spirit, all of it. Just trying to live our best and healthiest life yet, and also, you know, in health and wellness and helping others in any way that they need, really.
Wow. I don't know about y'all, but just listening to Gabby and all the stuff she's doing made me tired. You have a lot on your plate, girl, though I know we all do, but I'm like, wow, you really are Wonder Woman. All right, let's have you introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Heidi. I'm a registered nurse, but I'm mostly home with my kids. I have a 3-year-old daughter and a 7-year-old son. My husband is a pilot for United, but he is currently private piloting right now. And yeah, I love people. I love Jesus, and I just love to share what he's done in my life, big and small.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So as everyone on the call sees, we have just a wide variety of ladies here who do a lot of things. And so we're just going to invite you into our conversation as we sit here, and I'm still letting people into the room. Yay, I'm glad people are still joining us. So what we're going to talk about is, first off, I just kind of want to define self-care, because I know self-care can look different to each one of us. So let's just jump in there and just start talking about what self-care looks like. So does anybody want to start, or do you want me to? No? Okay, go ahead. Heidi, maybe you want to start. What does self-care look like to you?
Self-care, well, obviously it's holistic. We can't just focus on one and forget the others, but I think it's also a balance. You know, one day we might be focusing on our physical, or just and getting little snippets with like emotional or even spiritual, but every day is going to be a little different. But I think it's what I always call it's a bridge. It's like we're building our bridge to health. And for me, the foundation always starts with Jesus and that relationship that I have with him. And then it has to be, you know, exercise, my diet, my nutrition, my community, and who I'm investing in and who's investing in me. And then whatever else those big chunks of the bridge include.
That's awesome. I think that's important too, because as you say, Jesus is the foundation, because I think just personally, we can go through all of this, the steps that you think that people would tell you to go through for self-care, but if Jesus is not in the mix of it, it doesn't usually turn out the way that it should turn out, or as it is not as prosperous as it can be in your life as you're doing self-care. So I'm an emotional being. Like, I feel like I wear my emotions on my sleeves sometimes, and sometimes I've had to wrestle with myself because I feel like, gosh, you're crying again. Stop. But I've come to realize, the closer I've got to Jesus, that that's okay. He was an emotional being too. And part of my self-care is just being able to accept myself for that and who I am, and be nice to myself, because I don't know how many times this is so mean to me. I just let the words that come out of my mouth talk so ugly, and I'm so mean to myself, and I have to be like, stop.
Don't you feel we can get different ideas of self-care? Like, I think when I was younger, I thought maybe that was like getting your hair done or pedicure, manicure, or me time, kind of things like that were, and nothing wrong with that, because I think like you said, there are times that we do all of that, but it's the time that you're taking to pour into yourself and fill yourself up so that you have something to pour out of you. Because I know when my kids were little, there was very little time where I took the time, to pour into myself, reading my Bible or listening to a podcast or things like that, because I was so busy. And then you're like, oh, like you don't have anything left to give them. And so if that's not the priority at the beginning of my day, it just doesn't go well for anyone, myself included, and everybody else. I feel like deficient, like I'm not getting what I need. And that's my time with the Lord is super important. And that's like what happens very first thing in the morning. Because if that gets all mumble jumbled, it just doesn't work for me. I don't know if I'm alone in that. Is that anyone else or what? But
Gabby, I hear you. It reminded me when you were talking like the oxygen mask,
yes,
in the airplane. And it's like, I've done it backwards my whole life. I've tried to do it from the outside. And like you said, there is nothing wrong with getting your hair done. And I personally, I've struggled with taking care of myself. I'll take care of everybody else. And then at the end of the day, you're right. You're out of gas. You're like, oh my goodness gracious. But that's what it reminded me of when you said that. It is first and foremost, if you're not putting your armor on, like we're called to do. John 15:5 says, apart from me, you can do nothing. Well, I've always been like, okay, well, Jesus, but just let me just finish this one thing. I just need to finish this one thing or take care of this one thing, and I've tried, but it's whatever we're feeding is going to grow. If it's our heart muscle, exercise. I used to think it was, and y'all have heard me say this before too, that healthy was like thin and pretty, and boy, was I wrong. You can get thin and feel as pretty as you want, but guess what? You're hollow and empty on the inside if you're not filling your soul. So,
My goodness, and that's so good. That's so, you need to write that down and publish it, because that was so good. I'm not kidding.
I need to write it down. I'll forget I said it.
Hey, we're recording. You can look back at it. You know what it reminded me of is I have this book because I love reading, like I love self-care as far as reading and learning more. And I have this book which made me look down into my bookshelf. It's called How Full Is Your Bucket? Because if our bucket's not full and we haven't taken care of ourselves, like
we
the
have
way
nothing to give,
we need, how can we give it out? Yeah, how can we do that to other people? So that's fantastic. Nicole, what do you think?
Yeah, so, self-care, like for me, like what everyone's talking about, time with the Lord, super, super important. Memorizing scripture is very important. I have gone times like without memorizing, and it's amazing what it does if I'm not memorizing scripture, not only for me, but for other people, because I'll have opportunities, where I'm talking to someone where I could really encourage them, like they're having a bad day. And then I could pull a verse out and it's like, whoa. So, and of course, nutrition, exercise, all that is extremely important. We just got back from vacation, and, when you've got laundry piled up and, you're trying to get back in the groove of things. And so yesterday, I didn't exercise and I felt it. I felt horrible. And today, I got back on my bike, felt wonderful. So for me, exercise, just the consistency of that is super, super important. And also time with the Lord emotionally, it helps me. If I'm having a bad day, it will help with that aspect. So, same with nutrition and exercise. It helps with, my hormones, if it's that time of the month. I notice if I'm exercising, you know, I feel better. I'm going to have a better day. And then what I put in my body is extremely important to me. You know, we eat pretty healthy, and we didn't always eat healthy. And I paid for it back in the day. So that's really important. I mean, yes, of course, we're going to have days where we cheat and we're not perfect. Like when we're on vacation, we might have ice cream. So, but nutrition, we take very, very serious, you know, in our family. Because I feel better, you know, when I'm putting the right nutrients in my body, then guess what? I'm able to serve others better. And, you know, I used to think in the past too, that as far as serving others, it would take from you, but for me, it actually feeds me. I absolutely love serving others. So, you know, as long as, yeah, I'm getting my rest and exercise and nutrition, all that, and getting God's word, I think it's really, really important to serve others. And then another thing for me that's so important, sorry, I'm talking so much,
Go for it.
is mindset. Mindset is huge for me, and doing daily affirmations. So, because like, I forget who mentioned it, maybe it was you, Stacy, just words that, you know, we tell ourselves and we can put ourselves down. And, you know, that was me a long time ago, just having negative thoughts, and it would ruin my whole day. And now I'm nothing but positive. You know, yeah, there might be a negative thought that creeps in there, but I know how to reprogram my mind to, you know, think positive thoughts and believe what is what I want to be true of myself. So that has been huge for me.
Yeah, that is huge. Like Heidi just said, Philippians 4.
Exactly. And I think Alan's going to speak on that today for the overcomers. So you guys who watch Overcomers, do it. But yeah, I think he is. I'm not sure.
That's awesome. I'll give everybody who's on the call a little bit of information that before we leave. But I just noticed, and I want to welcome, there was at the beginning, you guys might be a little confused because you only saw 5 of us, but Miss Hattie has been able to join us. You know, life sometimes gets a little bit crazy. And so we are just so blessed that Hattie is here. So Hattie, if you just want to go ahead and unmute yourself real quick and just jump into this conversation, introduce yourself so everybody knows who you are.
Hey there. Can you hear me first? Are you all okay? Great. I'm Hattie Shepherd. I am 57 years old, a wife, a mom, a grandma, and a caregiver to my mom and maybe my mother-in-law. And we just had the craziest thing happen. And so without going into detail on that, but where I'm sitting outside the hospital right now. And thank you all for praying, for those of you that were praying. But God is so faithful. And I was able to jump on with Jen talking and then Nicole. And let me just tell you, both of those things, my gosh, if I had not gotten up at 4 in the morning this morning, and I don't want to say that to make that a rule for everybody, but man, Jesus has to be in us first. And what I just experienced, and I'm just in brief, my mother-in-law flipped her pickup on a very steep driveway going down our driveway, and she's mutilated her hand. She walked halfway up the driveway to our house because we didn't even know. And as she was sitting on the driveway with her hand just messed up, what was coming out of her mouth was everything Jesus. And I was so challenged and so blessed, and just like, that's what I want to be. Like when things go bad and wrong, and she's probably going to lose 3 fingers. It doesn't look good, that part, but everything else is great. Her cognition, everything. And it's a miracle that I'm even able to be on this call. That's kind of interesting. But my husband, with COVID, only one person can go in, and he actually barely was able to go in. So praise the Lord for that. But Jesus in us is what makes all the difference in every bit of our life. And life happens, and we just don't even know from one minute to the next. And not for us to fall into fear. That is not correct. But things happen in life, and if we're not filling ourselves up with Him, We don't have anything to give out. And that really overflows to every part of our life. You know, of course, there's the emotional, the spiritual, and with the physical, if we're not taking good stuff in and being careful that way and treating our bodies correctly that way, we don't have the stamina. I mean, the truck was blocking the driveway. The flip truck was blocking the ambulance and the EMTs from coming up. Like, they had to hike up our driveway. And I was looking at all of them, and probably out of the 6 or 7 that were there to help, only 2 of them were in physical shape to help. All of the other ones had to stop and pant. And it was just so eye-opening to me how important it is to take care of yourself. Oops. Sorry.
It's okay.
Sorry about that. My phone's, people are ringing through. So anyways, hello everyone. Sorry. That's it. We can go
Wow.
on.
God is so faithful, Hattie, and I'm so glad that in the midst of all of this that you're able to join us and set the time aside. And I know I've told you this before, but every time I get to spend time with you, I walk away so blessed. You are just so rich and full of knowledge that even from because Hattie and I live close to one another. She's in Springville, and from Bible study to church to anything, she just, that is a woman that you want to be close to, because I don't think I've ever had a conversation with Hattie where Jesus hasn't come up. He's just that full and pouring out of you. And I just love that about you.
Well, that is so sweet. What I witnessed today in my mother-in-law is that, like, she's in the worst of circumstances. She caught a glimpse of her hand, and her prayers, no, I kid you not, her prayers, she was praying for the other souls. She was standing in the gap for other people that don't know Jesus yet. I just was like, that's what I want. I want, when I'm squeezed, for Jesus to come out. And the only way that can happen is by having, us really emptying ourselves and being filled with his spirit. And that's daily, moment by moment, for sure. Anyways, that was such a crazy, nutty experience. So
Hattie,
anyhow.
thank you so much you just said, when I'm squeezed, and I was just, right before you said that, I was thinking, that's what I want to see when we're squeezed and we're called to live life on life's terms, and things happen and we have to bury our loved ones, or accidents happen. And I lost my little brother at 20 in a drunk driving accident. And, but it's hard. We see people that have road rage, and it's like they get cut off, and all of a sudden it's like, the hands are flying, and it's like, I know that I have not always conducted myself in a manner worthy of Jesus Christ. And I pray today that when people look at me, or perhaps we're squeezed and we're faced with situations like that, that they think like wow, she belongs to Jesus, and you don't even have to tell them, because it's written all over your beautiful face,
Oh yeah.
Amen for that. Like,
Someday,
we've all been through so much, and it's just funny the way that God works, because he knew this was going to happen before we even had this Zoom scheduled for today and all of the things. So I just want to transition right there, because we're talking about the kind of things that we've gone through. We were talking about self-care and what that means to us, but I just kind of want each one of us to take a few minutes and kind of give a little bit of backstory of, I know it would take probably a whole long time if each one of us went through everything that we've been through, but just in particular as pertaining to today in our physical, healthy, and spiritual journey, like, if we could all just take a couple minutes and just let the other ladies on the call know the things that we've been through, like our story, if you would.
Okay.
How about Gabby? Let's go with Gabby. That big old smile I see, let's hear it.
I was trying, it's like, how do you condense your journey? I think part of my journey that I'm reminded of every day is how health has always been important to me. And that being said, that was really hard when for my husband, it wasn't important to him. And so my journey of like finding health for myself, finding out like what the Lord wants for my life and all that, being on a different page as your husband who loves the Lord, but just those things weren't important. So it's like you're kind of going like this. I don't know if anyone else can relate to that, but just then going back to like my walk with the Lord, how that strengthened, because sometimes he was all I could lean on, you know? But to see where the Lord's brought us this far today, to where he talk about mind, body, and soul. And if anyone wants to hear his story, we will be on Overcomers later, and that can be a whole nother, you would get to hear his story of everything, mind, body, and soul. But just the journey that I've been on, I've realized that no matter what you look like on the outside, it's the inside that matters and the inside that counts. And that means your heart. And like you know, like everyone's been saying, just like how you serve and how you love others. But at the same time, like, so for me, like weight has never been an issue except for when I was pregnant. And that was the worst part. I didn't like getting bigger than I was used to because I couldn't tie my shoes, my back hurt, you know, everything. And I always said, this is going to keep me thin or, you know, fit my whole life, because I just didn't like how that felt. But that really, I wasn't all that healthy, like inside in my early 20s. Like to people, I might have looked really great on the outside, but the inside was falling apart. I had gout, I had kidney stones. I mean, you name it, you could go on. But so it is so important that, like Jen said, it's not just what you look like. It's a whole, so the Lord has been teaching me that over the years, that he cares about what's on the inside. And that's the most important thing. So that's kind of part of my journey. Lots to that, but I don't know if that kind of answers your question or not.
Yeah, that was awesome. That's awesome. I love that. I didn't even know a couple of those things about you. So, wow. What about you, Nicole?
Sorry, I had to unmute myself. So yeah, to bounce off of Gabby, you know, that's kind of my journey. I would say is, you know, that God, he cares so much about our health. He wants us feeling so good. And so mine started, you know, it had to do with faith. You know, faith was new. You know, I became a Christian in college, just to kind of paint a picture with my background. Divorced parents, you know, when I was a baby, they separated. So my mom raised me and my brother. She had to work. And so I didn't get good nutrition whatsoever. I was a latchkey child. So when I came home from school, I just ate whatever, you know, I wanted. And usually it wasn't the greatest food. And then in college, I ended up getting the mononucleosis virus. It hit me pretty hard. And so I started, you know, getting some health issues, got married, and I got some major health issues. And just to let you know what those were: chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, depression where I was suicidal, insomnia, and exaggerated PMS. So my hormones were out of whack. And so I was diagnosed at age 27. And so for me, it was like big time faith. I ended up resorting to 3 different prescription medication. And I just remember, you know, just having suicidal thoughts, which is horrible, but I did. And I didn't like the medication, didn't like the side effects. I didn't feel like it was, you know, getting to the root of the cause of the problem. And so I remember it was like a whisper. The Lord said, you know, you need to have faith like a mustard seed, like it talks about in Matthew 17:20. And, you know, he's like, if I can move any mountain, you know, surely I can help you with this. You know, I care about your health. And I'm like, he does, he cares about us. He wants us feeling vibrant and energetic and happy and all that. And so, so he says, you know, you're going to trust me. And I'm like, yes, I'm going to do it. And he's like, okay, you have to quit this medication, which I did. And that was hard for me to hand over what I call the fake pearls, and he hands over the real pearls. And I'm sure you've heard that story before. And so for me, I just remember it was like, okay, Lord, I am going to trust you. I believe you 100% that you are going to bring something in my life. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to have 100% trust in you and faith. And I remember like this, it sounds crazy, but it reminds me of when I got saved, but just this rush through my body. I'm like, wow, oh my goodness, this is insane. And so a week goes by, nothing. Another week goes by, I go to my bell box. I come across this women's magazine, a Christian women's magazine. And it had this lady's story. She had 10 children missing organs, kidney and spleen, and how how these products just totally revolutionized her health. And I'm like, this is it. This is it. I had a 1-800 number back then. So that was like over 20 years ago, and called the number and just, oh my goodness, fell in love with the people. They talk more about the Lord than anything. And I'm like, this is it. So anyways, she taught me so much, this lady, about nutrition and how to cook healthier for my family. As a matter of fact, they invited us to fly out. At the time we were living in California. They invited us to fly out to Georgia where they lived. And so I got to watch them, how they, cook in the kitchen, grind their own wheat and all this stuff. And anyways, huge learning experience for me. But so my health totally turned around, because of that, giving it good nutrition and just changing my diet. And anyway, so for me, it was a huge faith thing, and just so thankful for, realizing how important nutrition is and what it does for the body and how it affects everything, your life. So
that's incredible. I love how you said that God was asking you to give up something, give up those prescription medications that you felt like were keeping you alive, if you would, and helping you to feel better. And you stepped out in that faith, and God provided something else. He's just faithful like that. And we just have to take him by the hand and let him lead, and quit trying to. I always give my husband the example of, I used to, let me say that and give him some credit. I used to tell him, it feels like to me, I see you riding horses on the beach with Jesus, and you keep trying to win him for some reason. Instead, you should just be getting off your horse and getting on the back of his, because he knows where he's going. You can't lead. You just got to be on that horse and hold on tight. So that's just what it reminds me of. And God was so faithful to give that to you. So that's so exciting.
Yeah, and for some people, it'd be different. I know that some need their medication. I understand that. But that's my story. And for some, it might be different what he tells them. But I know nutrition, he cares about nutrition so much. Anyways, so just want to clarify.
Now that's good. God gave us everything that we need right on this earth. My husband and I were just talking about that yesterday. He's like, think about it. God made everything, and everything was right here on this earth. And man started messing with it and taking everything out of it. And now look at us. Now we're striving to try to find all that stuff that's been taken out. Anyways, I don't want to go down a rabbit trail. I want to hear Jen. I want to hear your story.
Yeah, perfect timing. I think it's apropos for me to go after Nicole, since Nicole is the one, she's the one that introduced me to the journey that I'm on, which has been completely life-changing and full circle for me. My story has not been pretty. My story, on the other hand, growing up in Los Angeles, my parents threw me in at a very, very, very young age to the modeling and singing and acting industry and all of that. And so I grew up with this pressure to be thin, this performance-based lifestyle. Nutrition, furthest thing from my mind. To be the skinniest, the prettiest, and have the best voice, and to, that was what was going to get me far in life, right? And so my focus completely out of whack. So early teens, very disordered eating that turned into an eating disorder. So my teen years, I spent, oh goodness gracious, the first time was 45 days. The second time was 5 months, all out of pocket, $10,000 a pop. It was, thankfully, it was an all, it was a Christ-centered facility for women with eating disorders. Tubes in their nose, women that just, didn't know. So right out the gate as a teenager, I got introduced to this Savior called Jesus Christ and 12 steps and just body image and realizing that I struggled with being enough, and all this stuff. And then really didn't do what I was supposed to do. It's like, letting go of certain things. I never took a vitamin. I've never really, like I said, took care of myself. My thing was, I was willing to abuse anything that, made me thin or made me feel different. So 20 years ago, I moved to Nashville, and, they say you kind of become who you're around. We talk a lot about staying close to the campfire, staying close to the women that build you up, that feed you, right? My husband says all the time, you go to the barber shop and hang out in the barber shop, you're bound to get a haircut. Eventually you're gonna get a haircut. You go hang out, right? Right. So I came to Nashville, Tennessee, and I decided to hang out in a bar, go figure, and so I struggled. I thought, oh my gosh, my eating disorder's gone. No, I just learned how to manipulate. That's what it's been for me. That's what my journeys look like. I have manipulated this beautiful thing that God had given me, this temple, this body, this one tent, right? And I have destroyed it. I have not fed it well. I have not seen it in a mirror for what it truly is in God's image, right? I have done all these things. And so 20 years ago, I decided to abuse alcohol. I didn't wake up and say, hey, I want to be an alcoholic. But for me, alcohol was a big part of my journey, which resulted in arrests and rape and abortions. And I apologize if I offend anybody by saying that. I am a believer in Jesus Christ, and I struggle greatly with my flesh. I am in recovery. I am 44 years old, and for the first time in my life, I'm finally fueling my body with the things that I know are going to sustain me. My heart. I feel like, and this is really all I can say too, I'm in relentless pursuit of the one who saved me. I should be dead, just in the consequences. And I am, November 25th, I'll have 5 years without a drink. And I'll just try to close with this, because like I said, my story's long and crazy, but almost 5 years ago, I got behind the wheel of a car and I drove in a 2-hour blackout with my children in the car. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me. Prayers were answered and I got clean, and I couldn't even go 5 minutes without a drink. So today for me, and this is really where I wanted to go with this. When you go to rehab, when you go to military, when you want to make these changes in your life, they teach you, hey, first things first, when you wake up in the morning, what do you do? For me, I wake up and I make my bed. I make my bed. It's kind of how I start my day. Then you spend time with the Lord. It's like you're putting this armor on, you wouldn't, you get dressed to go outside, right? We look in our closet and we think, oh, that looks cute. We put all this time and effort in how we look and all this stuff. It's like, we don't think about it spiritually, getting ready, putting our armor on, doing whatever it is, feeding our body with the nutrients it needs, all this stuff, going to the gym. For me, it wasn't just a one and done, get sober and all of a sudden, ooh, you're healthy, you're strong, you live long, strong people pass away, strong people get infections, strong people get sick. But for me, I like to make fun of myself, but like I had to climb through the mud. It was the type of thing where I'd fall down, I'd get back up, dust myself off, and I'd give God a high five. And then I'd go with God, and then I'd be like, see you later. Then I'd fall down again and get up, and he'd just be like, when are you gonna, take my hand and let me lead you? So I finally did that, and it was like letting go. So what I should have learned 20 some years ago, battling with an eating disorder that I'm trying to fill this insatiable appetite. Now, imagine that I'm applying all the tools that I learned then now in my 40s. And really, it's so simple. It's so simple and so stupid. I'm powerless over so much. People, places, things. In my case, it's alcohol and drugs, right? You can live without drugs and alcohol. You can't live without food. Like, we got to take care of ourselves. But my kids get to watch me. Our children get to watch us be healthy, you know, and that's the beauty of it. So I could go on and on and on, but I just wanted to share my story. It's dark, but God's brought me through. It's a story of redemption, and it's his story. And I'm grateful for that Nicole Blaine didn't keep quiet. She shared her life and her story with me. She shared what God did for her, and now I get to share what God did for me in my life. So.
And can I say something to that? We're getting real raw here. So
Yeah, we are.
So I don't know, most of you may or may not know, but our oldest is an addict. And I prayed for someone to come in my life. I wanted an outgoing girlfriend, right? And God delivered Jen. But not only did he deliver Jen, she has been such a blessing in my life to understand about addicts and recovery and all that with our oldest daughter. So I just want to say that, and I could cry right now, but God is so good. He answers prayers. And then she
Don't cry.
praying.
Just put on my fake eyelashes today. Don't cry. You'll make
That's
me cry.
right. And Jen, what were you praying for? What were you praying for?
Well, and at the time, y'all, I was struggling. I had lost my dad. And so I naturally was going through grief, you know, and, but I had lost a bunch of weight, my appetite, you know, and I just thought, okay, well, and then all of a sudden the night sweats hit like a wave. And I thought, oh dear God, here I am, 44, going through menopause. That's all that that's all that I could chalk it up to. And my husband and I just prayed. We prayed long and hard because I was really struggling. And I'm like, I just need something. I need, you know, and at the time, real quick, and just a little sad story, my sister owns a local coffee shop here, and I was working for her for about $11 an hour, and I was standing on my feet, and I loved what I did. I got to meet the most amazing people, and Nicole was one of the people that I met, and I made some joke about being a premenopausal mommy, and she'll tell you, I put my number in her phone as premenopausal mommy, so when I call, it says premenopausal mommy.
Yep, still does.
So, you know, and she basically just was like, look, all that is you're deficient in these certain nutrients. And you know, from there, it blossomed into the most amazing friendship, and we're business partners, and some of the ladies on this call. And I pinch myself every day that I get to be in a circle of girlfriends. And being in recovery, yes, I've been in many situations where I've had to be in groups of a lot of women that have poured their heart out, that have been through some crazy stuff. And that's how you grow. Confess your sins to one another that you may be healed, right? It says in James, and I just feel like this is the best kind of thing. Women getting together and not painting on a pretty smile and saying, hey, you know, I want to sell you this, or I want to do this, or I want to do that. It's like, look, I struggled with this because there's so many people. We all know someone that drinks too much. We all know someone that has either starved themselves or binged or purged or doesn't take their medication right or whatever. We all know somebody, and it's so important, I think, for us to lean on each other, you know? But anyways, it's the struggle's real, right? They say new levels, new devils. It's like, just because this happens, God doesn't promise. I mean, it's like, you know, here Hattie is getting on this call and she's all prepared, and then this. And I just love that. I love, like, when I'm squeezed, you know, I want all the goodness of the Lord to come out. The fruits of the Spirit, the faithfulness, the gentleness, the kindness, the patience. Oh, y'all, I don't have patience. I have teenage boys. 5 kids, a little girl, she's precious, and now I have teenage boys. So you know, seasons. But I'll get off my soapbox, and thank you, Nicole, for bringing that up, because I pray for Lacey every day. And I know what my mom struggled with, watching me suffer with battling addiction, you know, and I just pray, you have the patience and you have let go, and I've seen you just glow with surrender. You know, you don't have power over your children, especially your grown adult children.
Thank
So.
you. Yep. Just pray, pray. That's all I can do. So, and I believe that she will. She just has to hit her rock bottom. So,
Yep.
Unfortunately, but yeah. Thank you, Jen. Love you.
And last thing, I want to say this real quick. Someone said to me before, who are we to stand in the way of the pain that it takes someone to, or the pain that it takes someone to experience their bottom, right? Who are we to stand in the way of whatever pain necessary for them to find the Lord, or for them to finally say, okay, I'm gonna let go, right? When someone said that to me, I thought, okay, yeah, you're right. All we can do is pray for those people. So.
Amen to that.
Can I just say one thing? I just want to say the Lord took all of our pain away from the get-go. So thankful for his salvation, or for his sacrifice for us.
Amen. Thank you, Stacy. Hattie, what about you? I know you've got like a ginormous family going over there, and you're like grandma extraordinaire, which you don't even look like a day older than I am to me, but let us hear what's going on with you. I'm just being honest, you don't. I'm like, no way.
Oh, you are so sweet and kind. Well, first off, I feel like, gosh, I'm following these great stories. That is amazing. And Jesus, 100%. Thank you, Jen, for saying that about who are we to stand in the way of what God's doing. It's hard when you see people, when you know the answer, and you just can't fix it. It has to be the Lord fixing it. So anyway, so I'm going to tell my story. I was born, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to go back. I was raised on a farm. That's part of my story. Raised to work hard. And but with that came a lot of like, that whole to be something in order to please my dad, and that kind of plays into this problem that I had when I was younger, and probably still battle with now, where as a Christian, it is not works. It's all what Jesus has done for us. And, but we're pressed upon in our culture as women to be a certain way and to perform. I was very much in that, like I knew, like I was working hard in school, wanted to get the very best grades that I could get. And that's, that's way back. But I was always like 15, 20 pounds overweight. And I had a bit of an eating disorder myself. There were times where I'd made myself throw up, specifically in college. That was it was really interesting because at home, I was pretty controlled by my dad. He was a very, controlling guy. And so even with food, I mean, it was funny for it, you gain like 15, 20 pounds, but as a freshman in college, I absolutely did that. And I had no clue as to what to do with my body. And I knew I did not want that. And the weirdest thing was, it was so much I guess I was so wrapped up in what I looked like, and it was all about me. I was so self-centered, and I made a lot of bad choices, and just bad choices. I wasn't saved at that time. I knew about Jesus, but it wasn't until the end of my freshman year that I gave my life to the Lord. But even in all of that, I was able to, because the Spirit of God, one of the fruits of the Spirit is self-discipline. And I was able to jump into the self-discipline part, and that was good. And I'm going to kind of talk on a physical level. because, you know, making rules for yourself is great, you know, because we're living in a culture of self-indulgence. I mean, that is what our culture is. It's very self-indulging on so many levels. And so rules are not bad, but there's that whole mindset of, I need to look a certain way. I need to be as skinny as the fill in the blank. And I remember really, you know, truly struggling with that. And I'd look in the mirror and I was probably 10 pounds lighter than I am now, or 15. And I would see myself fat. And that is indicative of a problem, you know? And so anyways, I got married shortly after I gave my life to the Lord. There's a whole story about that. Someday I'll share my full testimony with y'all. But anyways, and we started having kids probably about a year and a half after that. I had 3 kids, and my husband said this to me. Actually, I had the 2 boys, and he said, gosh, he said, you know, maybe we shouldn't have any more. He said, I just don't know what kind of a dad I'd be if
Oh, I hope we didn't lose her. Can you guys hear her?
No, I can't hear her. I lost her.
Caitlin.
Oh,
And
Oh, that was so good
now,
too.
I'm sorry, say that again.
I said, oh, that was so good too.
I know we lost you for a second when Frank said, what kind of dad would I be? And then you cut off.
I'm sorry. Frank said, what kind of dad? I just don't know what kind of dad I will be if we have a disabled child. He, you know, was kind of a fear that he had. And I'm like, that's not going to happen. No, you know, what do you do? You know, and we just kept on having babies. And lo and behold, number 4 out of our 5, we've had 5 children, is developmentally delayed. She's 29 now. And from the very get-go, things seemed very different with her. And I suspected something wasn't right, but it wasn't until she was 2 years old that she was diagnosed with a developmental delay, which is just this global term. It's like, you know, it's a kinder way of saying mental retardation. Anyways, and the Lord, both my husband and I had become Christians, thank goodness. And the Lord helped us to weather this, you know. And, you know, it's like, you know, every pregnant mama's worst fear is having a disabled child, you know. And so anyways, and honestly, I have to say that if God had said, yeah, for sure, Hattie, number 4 is going to be disabled, I would have stopped at number 3 because of the fear factor. Oh my goodness, I can't do that. I don't want to do that. You know, that thing. But after living it, I would never, ever say no. The Lord has used her to, she's wonderful. And yeah, we have terrible challenges, like terrible things going on. Like today, you know, as my mother-in-law's on the driveway, and she comes out to see what's going on. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I can't do anything with her. But do you know what she did? She came and laid hands on my mother-in-law and prayed for her as my mother-in-law is praying. And then she sat down behind her and just let Rosemary just lean back on her. And so all of that to say, God is so in control, even when we don't feel like he's in control. So anyway, so we have, you know, I have my 5 kids and I have my rules. You know, I'm going to seek the Lord daily. I'm going to be in prayer daily. I'm going to eat as nutritious as I possibly can. I'm going to exercise, and I'm plugging along with my life. And then I came to menopause, and I really hadn't taken any vitamins. I had about probably 17, 18, maybe 20 years ago, I had been on some vitamins. But even with my prenatals, I wasn't that great with them. And I remember my doctor telling me, so 5 kids, and I know some of you have had more than that, but you know, he said, those babies are going to get everything they need from you. You will pay for it in your 50s. And I'm like, what? No. And you know, when you're young, you just think you're invincible and you don't need this stuff, because when you take vitamins, you don't really feel it when you're young. But anyways, fast forward, as I'm having teeth break because I didn't take my vitamins. And I, you know, so I can say, yeah, you need to take your vitamins. Well, when I hit menopause, I, you know, put on some extra weight, and I was doing all the same things that I had done. And my cholesterol shot up to right under, it was like 298 and right under 300. And I couldn't eat right. I couldn't exercise enough. I couldn't do anything to make it change. And I had really kind of become hopeless. And that's a terrible place to be. And that was only like with 15 pounds. I know people that have lost, like Holly, who's lost over 100 pounds. And I can't even imagine what that must feel like. But I'm here to say there's hope. You know, we don't need to be hopeless, but that's how I felt. And so anyways, I finally found some good nutrition, and it, you know, this reversed my health within 4 months. And so I feel stronger. Like I was huffing and, you know, humping up and down. Like I went up and down our driveway probably 3 times today just because I needed to. We had to. No problem. And I'm old. And all of those EMTs, all of those guys, every single one of them were younger than me by maybe 20 years. And anyways, I am super hopeful with the good nutrition. And why is good nutrition important as a Christian? You know, we think of we kind of think in these terms of making it all like it's all spiritual. Well, how well am I going to be able to perform with my 16 grandkids, with 2 elderly moms that we're caring for, with my disabled daughter? How well am I going to perform if I'm living an overindulgent and just eating what my flesh likes to eat, not what is really important for strength? And that, so my whole, the self-image thing, I mean, I feel like I've been set free from that, because my pursuit of health is so that I can serve more efficiently. And instead of trying to be the prettiest or the thinnest or the whatever, and I was so much like when Jen hit the nail on the head, you know, we can be as skinny as all get out and not be healthy and be laid up in bed and not be able to serve anybody. You know, we can look beautiful, but if we can't serve, it's not real beauty. So anyways, that has been my journey for the last few years. And I'm so thankful for the tools we have to be strong, to get strong. So
I want to piggyback that with, I was just sitting here thinking about, you know, I've watched my in-laws and my parents care for their parents like you are, and from an early age. And I thought, how can I not end up like that? Like that was something that always was going on in my mind, you know, and seeing my mother-in-law, like always in the doctor's office, like, oh, grandma's got an appointment, grandma's got a doctor's appointment. I'm like, this is not like, there's got to be something different to this. And I think that's why, sorry, I keep having a gnat that I'm flying. But is that was something that started me early on. Before I started having kids, I was like, okay, if my body's breaking down now and I haven't even had kids, like I need to figure something out. And so that's kind of what got me going on the health journey. And so thankful, you know, that I found nutrition that I needed, that my body needed to support my pregnancy, so that I didn't wind up with all sorts of cavities and, you know, things like that. And it's like, how people are like, how can you honestly say that you feel better at age 40 than you did at 20? And I'm like, nutrition. That's the difference, because I haven't worked out. I mean, I barely started working out consistently in May. And I hate to admit that, but like that was something that I never made important. And now, like, whoever was said, like Nicole, miss a day and you feel crappy. I know I do, but it's just that whole idea of like, if you're always, I didn't want my kids to always be in the pediatrician's office, and it was like, I wanted to be able to serve. And I was a leader at MOPS and different things like that. I'm like, if I always was having to, my kids were sick at home, and so someone was gonna have to fill in for me. Like that was always a fear, I guess, of just like having to say no or break plans or whatever when I had committed to something. So just a funny thing is like my pediatrician called one day and asked if my oldest son was seeing another pediatrician because they hadn't seen him in 6 years. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm never in the pediatrician's office, so that like God definitely answered that prayer. We're in Indiana and someone asked who our pediatrician was, and I still don't have one 3 years later. I should probably get one. But anyway, so it is totally doable, but staying out of the doctor's office for me was like a really big why in looking into nutrition and stuff like that. So
That's so awesome. And Heidi, I bet you being an RN, that's probably crazy to you thinking about kids being able to stay out of the doctor's office that long, but I bet it's something that's definitely on your radar, right?
Oh, always. But, nutrition has not been out of my radar. I just never have been very good about it. And I feel like since Hattie introduced me to just some really awesome products this year. Well, she's introduced me a long time ago, but I didn't really feel the freedom in it. It was like overwhelming to look at nutrition. My parents-in-laws, they probably spend $800 in produce every month, just feeding themselves nutrition. And so thinking about doing that for myself and my family was really overwhelming. And I want everybody to see my beautiful black eye. I'm very proud of it because, my story's long too, but just to give you a snippet of how my life has changed in the past 4 or 5 months, I get to go surfing now and I feel like a 20-year-old in 4 months because I've been sticking to my nutrition plan, not perfectly, and exercising, not perfectly, but squats are amazing. And getting back in the ocean, like when I was in my 20s and feeling amazing and playing with my kids, that's my testimony. Like I've come from, a few years ago, three years ago, going to the doctor as a 35-year-old and telling them they want to put me on statins because my cholesterol is high, and knowing that that's not okay. So life happens. Your family dies. There's, multiple people around me with mental illness who just are breaking down. Cancer. My dad died of cancer, and multiple people around me with cancer. It's a huge wake-up call that I wasn't listening to. And the Lord brought me through. Number one, spiritually. He was right there with me. He's like, you need to confess your sin to me, Heidi. Your bitterness is getting to you. All of those pieces were compounding and squeezing me, right? And I wasn't squeezing out Jesus, especially to my husband. I was bitter and angry. And it was that time with the Lord that he started with me. He started like foundationally with like ministering to me personally. And then he's like, okay, now let's focus on some exercise and some nutrition. Like the Lord asks us not only to obey him in the word, but with our body too. So it's been a huge journey, and I will never do it perfectly. I will never be a supermodel, but I know that God is working in me and blessing me because of it. So best of it to you guys.
Amen. Thank you for sharing that, Heidi. That's powerful. I know that we all have like crazy stories, and so I want to be mindful of your guys' time because I did say an hour. But I have questions written down that I know that we've almost all answered, but I just want to jump in really quick and tell my story because we all have long stories, but just listening to all your stories, just the one part that's poked out in my mind. is the mental health issue. I mean, I've been overweight. I've had gastric bypass surgery. I have a love affair with food. I love eating. And so that's always been a problem for me. But my mom growing up always relied on recreational drugs. That's all I can remember. And it took about 10 years ago, she had a major breakdown because she was addicted to prescription medication because she just needed more and more and more. And when we were trying to get her help, they told us that she had probably been suffering from bipolar her whole life, and that was helping her. The recreational drugs when I was younger was helping her to maintain normalcy. And it scared me because I thought, oh wow, what if that's what's wrong with me? Because I remember going through bouts of being just really depressed and like, what is wrong with me? Like, Stacey, get it together. What is wrong with you? Like, pull yourself out of this funk. And I would just be like, nope, it's time. Okay. I would be in my room and be just really sad and just like, what is wrong with me? But then go out in public and be like, okay, I got this. I can do this. And, you know, put on our happy face, even though it felt like everything was tearing down on the inside. And I remember going to the doctor some years back and to my OBGYN and being like, something is wrong with me. I don't like myself. Fix it. Something is wrong with me. And she was like, honey, how much D vitamin do you take? And I was like, vitamins aren't going to fix this. You know what I mean? But I'm telling you, I started to like who I was taking that. And it made a huge difference in my life. And then I heard a testimony from someone talking about how depression and mental illness was, and all these studies that he posted, because I was like, oh, he can say what he wants. But I went back and looked at all these studies that I saw him after he talking about how it's, a lot of it has to do with inflammation in your brain because you're not getting the things that your body needs and the nutrients that your body needs. And there's something lacking. It's not something's wrong with you. You're off. And so I was like, made me sit up a little bit straighter. I was like, there's nothing wrong with me. I just need the nutrients. I'm denying myself. I'm gorging myself on ice cream over here, but I need to gorge myself with the nutrients and vitamins to make my mind a better place and a healthier place so that I'm happier and I can get along with myself, let alone other people. So one of the best decisions, because I can literally say that I have joy. And I didn't have that for a long time. I know I was going to do this. But I feel so good inside. And I know it's just because I started giving my body what it needs on the inside and things started balancing out. And I just having other people tell me that they love the joy that I bring still stops me in my tracks because I'm like, oh, if you only knew. If you only knew. But not only have I leveled myself out, but I have planted myself firmly in the lap of Jesus. And I know that without him, none of this would be, you know, I could try everything that I wanted to. Without me being firmly planted in the lap of Jesus, I know I wouldn't be where I am today. And so I'm so thankful. And just this community of all of you, it means a lot. I'll keep going, but I'm going to try not to. So I don't know if anyone has anything else that they want to throw in there, or if we have a couple questions, maybe if anyone has questions for anyone who shared stories today, we can go ahead and take a minute for that. Anyone? Or any last thoughts?
Hey, this is Renetta.
Mm-hmm.
Hey guys, I just want to say thank you for putting this together. And I'll cry for you, Stacey. Don't worry about it. You know me, I'm always a crier. The stories touched my heart, and I just thank you for being so open with all of us and for sharing, because we really do need to take care of our temple that God gives us. And I think that starting with him every day, all of you are a testimony of what Jesus would want us to be like. So just thank you for sharing. It really meant a lot.
Thanks, Ray. Stacey, I have a burning desire, something to share too. When you spoke about that study about the inflammation in the brain and anxiety and stress and stuff, that made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up, because it made so much sense, you know. And many years ago, when I struggled with first the eating disorder, then first it was they wanted to put me on Prozac, and then they wanted to put me on this, and they were, and I remember being a young teen thinking to myself, I don't want antidepressants. I'm not depressed. Do I look depressed to you? I'm not depressed, And so I was really against it. And really, I was naive to it all too. I've been on Zoloft for the last, I guess, maybe a little less than 20 years. And I'm on the lowest possible dose you can, and so I'm not saying that the antidepressants haven't helped me if in fact I do have some sort of a chemical imbalance. But what I've noticed in the last 6 months that I have done this research and I've really just poured my heart and soul into learning about this whole food nutrition, I've learned so much about hormones, and they are no joke. They are no joke. And now that I'm right in the middle of it, where it's like 1 minute, I've never seen, and you hear stories about menopause and, oh yeah, so-and-so got divorced. She went off the deep end. That happened to her. And I'm just thinking, oh, that's not going to happen to me. I've had great pregnancies. I've had somewhat good periods, maybe a little cramp every now and again, and now all of a sudden I have the most exaggerated, so I say this with all urgency. Hormones. If your hormones are out of whack and your chemicals are in balance, I'm saying I've seen people commit suicide over it. I just saw a post on Facebook, and I'm not trying to be morbid, but we all know someone who has lost someone due to mental health. And it's like, we're deficient. We're deficient of something. And maybe it isn't nutrients. Maybe, it could be anything. Look, y'all, if we don't drink enough of this, this is key. We've got to drink so much water, and I know it's like, hey, and I say this all the time, progress, okay? Not perfection. I'm a perfectionist, if any of you struggle with that, but it's one day at a time, setting small little goals. Hey, you know what, today I'm going to drink 4 of these today, and it's like making these small little goals. But it isn't just one thing, it's everything, and it takes a village. And this is a really nice, sweet place to start, in this village of women getting together and being vulnerable. And I really appreciate that, Stacy, and everybody else who's joined us.
Deficiency, I'll tag on to that, is deficiency is no joke. And my husband, his story is pretty incredible. But like, if I were to share with you a before and after picture of my husband, it's not just the 100 pounds that make the difference. It is his demeanor, his spirit, his heart, the joy that comes, and he didn't know that he struggled with depression and anxiety for years, and neither did I, until that led to alcoholism and rehab and stuff like that. But it was like, now it's coming full circle that it was nutrition that was a big part of it, along with spiritual warfare. I believe that both go hand in hand, and Satan knows exactly how to use that against you. But ever since he listened to what I said, your body needs this, let's figure out what's going on with your body, not trying to mask the symptoms with antidepressants and high blood pressure medicines and, all the medications that they wanted to give him. And so it makes a huge difference, just adding the things that you're missing. And yeah, our bodies are amazing at healing itself. And I'm so happy that you're finding the healing too. It's awesome.
That's so true, Gabby. I feel like the Lord is always so faithful to me, and I know to others, when I just give a little bit of time and a little bit of effort to doing what he asks of me, whether it's just spending 5 minutes with him in the Word. And, I always wish it's 2 hours, but sometimes it's just 5 minutes, or it's one salad, or it's 15 minutes, to run up the hill with my kids. He is so faithful to make me feel better. He's so faithful to give me 10 times what I put in.
Amen. Amen to that. Anyone else?
I agree. I just wanted to say thank you all for putting this together. It's been a great encouragement to me. And just, I don't know, just like you said, as far as giving your body what it needs. 18 years ago, I struggled with chronic fatigue and I didn't know why. And I feel like a lot of women live in that space and they don't know what to do with it. They don't know how, and they're trying all these different things. And that's just where I get passionate about just being able, there's so many different aspects of health, but when you find something that works for you, and when I really understood what my body was lacking and what it needed, just to have the energy to even do those things, to get in the Word, to have a clear head, it's been such a blessing. And I'm just so blessed to be with this community of women. And I can't wait to meet a lot of you that I don't know. Heidi, you specifically too. And anyway, I love you guys. And I just wanted to say thank you and that you guys rock.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Micah. That's sweet. I love that we've gotten to know each other. It's so precious. So with that, we'll just go ahead and wrap up, because I know that there's a few ladies on this call that are going to be talking again in less than 2 hours at the Overcomers Conference today. And that is going to be amazing. It's going to be, starting at 3 o'clock my time, so 6 o'clock. I don't know all the time zones. It confuses me. So I know in less than 2 hours, the Overcomers Conference, if anyone's interested in going to that, we can make sure we get the link to you for whoever invited you to the Zoom call, or maybe shared the information. I'm sure that they can get you the link to the Overcomers Conference. And then also, there's a couple questions that were in the chat that says, can someone recommend information on where to start with nutrition? And that would be Trisha. So Trisha, I don't know who, I think it was Heidi Heidi can definitely help you with that. And then plus, I'm going to be sending out 5 really important things that you need to know when looking for nutrition, just to make sure that you get the best thing that's necessary for your body. And can maybe join the rest of the ladies on this journey for self-care. So I thank everyone so much for joining us here today. I pray that you went away blessed, or that you're going away blessed with valuable information that you can just tuck down in your heart and your mind. And if you want to know anything more, I'm sure that whoever shared the link with you is more than willing to help you get started on a journey with better nutrition, better self-care, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. And I'm just so blessed. And I thank you all, ladies, so much. And I just pray that you have a fantastic, amazing, wonderful day. Don't forget to smile and always rest in Jesus.